Good morning. It is 7 a.m. A quorum is present, and the meeting has been duly called and posted in the time and manner required by law. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Scott McDowell, the president of Lubbock Christian University, to open the meeting with a prayer and lead the audience in the pledges to the American and Texas flags. Good morning, Dr. McDowell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Let's pray. Father, we're thankful for the wonderful blessing of being in a free place. We're thankful for this great state of Texas, and particularly West Texas. And God, I'm thankful for the ethos here and for the people that are here and for the way that your Spirit guides so much of what we do. Father, I just pray that this meeting will be blessed by you, that your presence will be here, that your Spirit would move among this group of leaders and bless them and bless this time. We commit it to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McDowell. We are grateful for the role that LCU plays in our community and for our district's opportunity to partner with LCU on so many important items. First order of business, reorganization of Board of Trustee officers. Our first item today is the reorganization of the board. At this time, the floor is open for nominations for board president.
Zach, could I take a moment first before?
I'd rather you didn't, but go ahead.
Well, you're going to get it anyway. I know you're staying on, but I want to thank you for your service. We haven't always agreed, whether in principle or tone or execution, but I've always known where your heart is. And so I want to thank you for your service. And for many things, you were the right guy at the right time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The floor is open for nominations for board president.
Yes, I'd like to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I nominate Bill Stubblefield as president of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Are there other nominations? Hearing none, shall we, by acclamation, elect Bill Stubblefield as president of the Lubbock Independent School District Board of Trustees?
Nope, I'm not voting for him.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of Mr. Stubblefield as president, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
All right, the motion passes 6-1 to elect Bill Stubblefield as president of the board.
Bless you all. Thank you all. And we'll continue on with the business. I do want to say just in a moment, having a moment of silence for the Ferguson family. If you do not know it, we lost a phenomenal young lady, an instructional coach at Hodges Elementary who touched a lot of lives. So if you would, just for a moment, let us be thoughtful and prayerful for the Ferguson family. Thank you. And I'll say this, I'll do my best to serve this board and the colleagues that are here on this dais, everyone within this district. And I just thank God for this opportunity. Thank you for acknowledging those of you here. This job and this opportunity, it means a lot, but handling the business of the district It is what matters most. So feel free to contact me and let me know how you think I'm doing. I'm okay with that. All right? At this time, the floor is open for nominations for vice president.
I nominate Beth Bridges.
We have a nomination for Beth Bridges. Are there any other nominations? At this time, nominations are closed. By acclamation, shall we elect Beth Bridges as vice president? Seeing no argument, then we have Beth Bridges as vice president of the Board of Trustees. We will now open the floor for nominations for secretary. Do we have any motions for secretary?
Yes, sir. Mr. Stubblefield, I would like to nominate Ryan Curry as secretary of the board.
Ryan Curry has been nominated on the floor. Are there any other nominations? Shall we then, by acclamation, acknowledge Ryan Curry as secretary of the board of Lubbock ISD? Thank you, Mr. Curry. Now, the best order of business that we have ahead of us, which is oftentimes the greatest reason why we are here, recognition of the 2023 Holiday Card Art Contest winners. I'd like to invite Mr. Andrew Babcock, the Executive Director of Fine Arts, to the podium. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, President Stubblefield and Dr. Rowell, Board of Trustees. Thank you for this opportunity to celebrate some artwork. And I don't know about you, but I have no idea what season it is, but we are celebrating Christmas and Christmas card holiday winners. So for the 15th consecutive year, designs for the holiday contest card winners were created by art students and submitted through this contest. And beginning in 2019, the Fine Arts Department began alternating feeder pattern participation due to the high number of annual submissions. We had so much great artwork, we couldn't even go through it. But this year, our campuses in the Monterey and Estacado feeder patterns participated, along with Dunbar College Prep Academy and Talkington School for Young Women Leaders. We had more than 150 entries. Two winners were chosen from each category: elementary, middle, and high school. And the holiday card artwork winners were selected by a panel of judges, highly decorated judges, by the way, comprised of art professionals and employees. These 6 designees are reproduced into holiday cards, which are sent by the superintendent and board of trustees to community partners and vendors. Submissions from the top 30 finalists will be on display throughout the central office throughout December, so you'll get to see a lot of them. So first up, we have from our elementary school holiday card winners, sporting the best tutu in the entire world, is Violet Graham from Honey Elementary School. Delphine Masbudo is her teacher, and then 5th grader Eden Martin from Miller Elementary. Kristen Hamilton is her art teacher. From our middle school design winners, Imelda Sanchez from Dunbar Academy. And she's not here today. And then Rain Childress Westmoreland from Talkington School for Young Women Leaders. Her teacher is Clarissa Bell.
Who's her teacher?
Clarissa Bell. And then from our high school winners, we have Emma Flores from Monterey High School. And also Christy Smart from Monterey High School. And Mr. Leo Camacho is the art teacher for both of these young ladies. So congratulations to all these winners.
She's saying this is not yours, this is yours. Thank you. Here you go. You don't shake some. You know what, Ray, come back, we're gonna take another picture right there. Yeah.
That's beautiful, yes.
We're gonna get everybody back.
Picture, and go right back up there. We're gonna take a picture with everybody, okay?
Everybody back, everybody back.
Could we have their teachers and principals?
Right?
Myself, this is a good picture.
There are a whole lot of art. Yeah, very artistic. Ruins the picture, doesn't it?
I feel like I need to hold Violet.
Yeah, you go back.
I can do it. All right, everybody, good morning, big smile, 3, 2. Fantastic, thank you.
We're going to continue right on with the recognition portion. And at this time, I'd like to invite Clinton Gill, Texas State Teachers Association Organizational Developmental Specialist, to the podium.
Thank you, President Stubblefield. Whiteside Elementary School teacher and Lubbock Educators Association President Lauren Smith was recently awarded the 2024 National Education Association Foundation Award for Teaching Excellence. Ms. Smith is one of 43 nationwide award recipients to receive this recognition. She and her fellow recipients were selected by their NEA affiliates to represent educators from across the country who embody excellence in their practice, advocacy for the profession, commitment to equity and opportunity, community engagement, and leadership in professional development. All 43 recipients will be honored at the NEA Foundation Salute to Excellence in Education Gala in May in Washington, D.C. The NEA Foundation is a national nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. and founded by educators. Their mission is to work in partnership with others to promote the absolute best in public education, believing that the most innovative and effective policies and strategies emanate from educators that are engaged in authentic partnerships with policymakers, such as yourself, students, parents, and others who are committed to educational equity, excellence, and opportunity. Through the transformative power of these partnerships, NEA works to improve both students' and communities' educational experiences. It's my honor to recognize Lauren on this amazing accomplishment.
Thank you so much. Big hugs to you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Awesome. That's beautiful. Yes. Yes, I love it. My dad's in the cotton industry, so I was pictures of it.
That looks better than the cotton we see this year.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Can we do a group picture with
We're gonna do
Brandy
a group
and
picture.
Clinton? Would you like to come get in the picture?
Three, two, one. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item C of our recognitions is recognition of 2023 Outstanding High School Social Studies Teacher of the Year. And at this time, I'd like to invite Joni Rodello, Social Studies Coordinator, to the podium. Good morning, Joni.
Good morning. Well, good morning, President Stubblefield, Dr. Rollo, and Board of Trustees. Every fall, the Texas Council for the Social Studies selects one outstanding nominee for the High School Social Studies Teacher of the Year. And this year's recipient is our very own Micah Smith from Coronado High School. Micah, I'm going to have you come stand right next to me for just a moment. There is absolutely no doubt that Micah exhibits the finest qualities of not only a classroom teacher, but an instructional leader, a coach, a mentor. In fact, Chris Huber, principal of Coronado High School, states, Micah has an exponential impact on other teachers as a teacher leader on our campus because of her positive attitude, her clear instructional vision, her ability to communicate. When I walk into any senior level class at CHS, I can always tell the students who had Micah as a junior because of their organization and the quality of their notes. She teaches them to think critically, to organize, and it impacts them for the rest of their lives. Mr. Huber's views are echoed by so many of her other colleagues. Micah works so incredibly hard for the rest of us. Sometimes I forget she has multiple classes to teach. She just does so much. Micah is not only an amazing teacher, but she's a great leader on our campus. She meets every teacher where they are and is always willing to help where she can. Micah is the real deal. If I had more space, I would write 10 pages on Micah's strength and skills. She's authentic, compassionate, intelligent, and a disciplined professional. She's a lifelong learner and a hard worker. Micah's ever-present smile symbolizes her optimism, the hope she has for the students. Micah inspires others to be better. And finally, I always knew that I wanted to grow up and be a coach. And then Micah became my mentor. Micah showed me that being a great teacher and working hard on your craft is just as rewarding as coaching. And I always strive to be like Micah in the classroom. Micah, these voices only begin to paint the picture of who we all know you to be. It's my pleasure to concur with every one of these statements. You're one of a kind. I've watched your impact on students, on teachers, and on our entire social studies department for a decade. We are blessed to have you. Micah is joined this morning by her husband, Will, by her principal, Chris Huber, and she will also join the ranks of 13 other LISD-connected social studies educators who were past recipients of this same state award. And it's an incredible privilege to introduce to you then our 2023 Texas High School Social Studies Teacher of the Year, Micah Smith.
Shake some hands, we'll come back and get that group picture. Smith, Mr. Hubert. Coming?
One, two, three. Beautiful, perfect.
Good job, kids.
It's a champagne problem, I guess, right?
Absolutely. He looks phenomenal. And the same reason you said, he said, so how much?
He's younger too, as he was very tasty, so good for him.
And his wife is a pharmacist.
Okay.
And so we're always on the go, though.
Yeah.
And so I was just reading out that, and I shared your story.
Of course.
Because he goes, that's why I did it. Good for you. I wish more people would.
This time we'll open up the floor for trustee comments. Trustees?
I'll start and just say how wonderful it is for all of our students, and the holiday art is, I mean, just fun to see a little girl in a tutu. I mean, just
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, she's
we,
gorgeous.
we don't get that every day, so what a great group to celebrate. And both for Lauren and Micah, my family's been personally touched by both of them, and from like a personal place of gratitude, just thank you to both of you. Thank you for what you do every day. And as our time winds down at Whiteside Elementary, I'm going to miss seeing Miss Smith every day, and Brandy and everyone there. And thank you both for what you do and continue to do.
Lauren, thank you for everything you do, especially advocating for employees, staff, teachers. Without you, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. So thank you for being that voice. And Micah, she already leave? Well, congratulations to Micah, phenomenal teacher. She's absolutely awesome. That's the kind of folks we have here at LISD. I'm really proud of her, and it's very well deserving. You're so right. And the kiddos with the Christmas cards, phenomenal cards. Their talent, they're skilled. As young as kindergarten, I just couldn't believe it. You know, it's amazing the things that they can do, and what our staff is teaching them, the art teachers. So thank you, ladies, guys that are teaching our students for all that you do. And I hope I didn't leave anybody else, did I? Thanks to parents as well. Thank you for everything you guys do. God bless you.
I'll say it's evident the caliber of leaders that we have in this district. Lauren and Micah, great job, but we have leaders all across our campuses that do phenomenal jobs, as evidenced by our art students and cultivating that talent. We just appreciate everybody for the talent and level that they put into and pour into our students. So, thank you.
I just have a couple of quick comments. For Mr. Babcock, you may have already left, but for me, Christmas starts about July, so don't worry about what Christmas season it is. It's never too early to put up a Christmas tree. But no, great work, and I mean, your kiddos, man, they're always like that whole group. You're doing a phenomenal job. But the other thing I'd like to say, and really to echo the other board members' comments, are we don't have teachers like this being recognized without the leadership provided by others and without the teamwork, and so you should be very proud of yourselves. But more importantly, I think the end product are the students, and that's what we really need to be thinking of. And so we're very lucky to have teachers and staff and leadership, and it's not just the teachers; it's the ancillary staff as well, helping to cultivate these kids, because that's the most important thing at the end.
And I will echo all the comments that everyone has said. They've said the exceptional things and the excellent things about each and every one in this district and all our recipients. Dr. Rollo.
We are just very proud of all of our students, the adults who pour into them. We are grateful to their parents for sharing them with us. To Lauren, just thank you. We meet with Lauren on a regular basis, and she is truly an advocate for our teachers and employees, and a collaborative problem solver, and most deserving of this recognition. And Micah, my own children were touched by Micah as well at Coronado High School. She is an incredible teacher and an incredible human being, and I just am very appreciative of the quality of instructors we have in Lubbock ISD.
Thank you so much. Continuing on with the agenda, Item 5, citizen comments. The next order of business is citizen comments. Before we begin, I would like to review the provisions in board policy governing the procedures for public participation as reflected in BED local. The audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on the matters being considered by the board. I will remind members of the board that the citizen comment section of our board meeting is for the purpose of listening to patrons, but we are not allowed to comment or debate on issues that are not posted. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes, and the timer will go off on the completion of 3 minutes. I would ask that you conclude your comments within the time allotted. As I call your name, if you would please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. First, I'd like to invite Ms. Phyllis Gambles to the podium.
Good morning. I am Phyllis Gambles, address 2905 East Baylor, Lubbock, Texas. I wanted to stand this morning on behalf of myself and the Lubbock NAACP to give kudos to several people in our Lubbock ISD. A little bit different than my norm, right? So I want to commend Miss Trustee Lala Chavez, the Lubbock High School principal. We had an issue come up that I received a complaint on, made contact, and in a matter of hours, it was resolved. The parents walked away content that it had been handled. I want to also commend Kami Finger, Brian Ellison, Cicely Alexander, Drew Coleman. These are all Lubbock ISD employees. There was a major issue. There was a parent who was distraught. And these guys came to the table with their heart. They came as educators, they came as employees, but more than that, they came as parents. And we got the matter to the next level, and I believe by the end of the week it'll be resolved. I want to finally commend Principal Will Banks at Estacada High School for a sincere step towards transparency. Myself and the Lubbock NAACP president met with her and Amy Stevens to walk through Estacada High School, where there's been so much controversy and so much discord, if I can say. We walked through the school, everything looked amazing, and I really want to stress that it can be done, and I'm really glad to make this report this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gambles. Next, I'd like to invite Lauren Smith to the podium.
Good morning again.
Morning again.
Yes. Lauren Smith, 7005 22nd Street, Lubbock, Texas. Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo, my name is Lauren Smith, and I'm the president of the Lubbock Educators Association, local affiliate of the Texas State Teachers Association, representing over 1,300 members. I'd like to begin by congratulating our new board officers in your new roles and thanking you for the recognition this morning. It meant a lot to me because I care an awful lot. It's an honor to represent Lubbock ISD at the national level. This morning you have an agenda item for a one-time payment to district employees. LEA strongly encourages you to pass the agenda item to provide this much needed payment to employees on their November paycheck. It will help employees tremendously, especially as the holidays are approaching. While we are still hopeful that the legislature will provide more funding to public schools without it tying vouchers during the fourth special session, we cannot wait on them to act. The employees of Lubbock ISD are most deserving of this one-time payment and are very appreciative given the fact that the legislature has not done their job to support our public school employees. Thank you for all you do for this district, and I hope you will vote for this one-time payment to district employees during today's meeting. And thank you for your time and your effort on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Next, I'd like to invite Vera Rose Gimsa to the podium.
My name is Vera Rose Gimsa. Address is 2813 21st Street. Sorry in advance, I sound like I'm dying. I was sick, but we're good now. So last meeting, a group of parents tried to get a set of books restricted, and this time, unfortunately, they did not even attempt to conceal their prejudice and their own beliefs. One of the many books they pointed to was Front Desk, a completely appropriate book that was so appropriate, in fact, many of us read it in 6th grade. Why did they try to restrict it? Because it discussed racism. Another book was called Inappropriate because it featured two men kissing. I hate to break it to you, but these things will not vanish when you ban books. And yes, world issues still exist in our classrooms, even if you choose to ignore them. It hurts me to know that so many parents want to protect their kids so badly, but this simply isn't an effective method to do so. You can make whatever decisions you want for your own child, but when it comes to what someone else's child is reading, you are overstepping. They're simply not your responsibility, and whether you like it or not, your child will have to face other beliefs, ideas, religions, and identities when they grow up. What you teach your children is reflected in their actions, and sadly, many of my peers in LISD are also suffering because of it. I have friends who have been called derogatory terms and harassed for who they are, what languages they speak, how they look, and they don't turn to staff because they've been made fun of by staff as well. I guarantee you that books aren't the things teaching them to disrespect others. If anything, books do the opposite. If you're so deeply offended by the presentation of other worldviews in literature, please reflect. Despite what you've been told, students can form independent thoughts, and we are asking you to listen to us. You cannot be shocked that race is a real term in our world. You cannot be shocked that sexuality is a real term in our world. You cannot be shocked that there are other religions and belief as your own, and most importantly, you cannot be shocked if a book reflects other beliefs than your own. Thank you.
Well said.
Next, I'd like to invite Harrison Velasco to the podium.
Hello, my name is Harrison Velasco. My address is 3011 21st Street. I'm here today to talk about the threat to our libraries and to our freedom of speech by groups who think they have the authority to tell us what to think. I'm an involved student at LISD. I've competed for my school in athletics, art, and academics, and I represented LISD as a whole at our Advanced Technology Center. I'm proud of my school and of my community, and I'm honored to wear my school's letter. But as proud as I am, nothing is more humiliating than watching idly as a group of outside agitators from Florida, of all places, attempts to dictate and control our libraries and information. As a Texan student, as well as an IB student, I believe in independent thinking and the value of learning diverse perspectives and divisive topics with nuance. This attempt at censorship by a discredited group is gross, unnecessary, and harmful to our established and successful program. Lubbock High and Lubbock Independent School District have produced well-educated and moral people for hundreds of years, and it is absurd to allow ourselves to be pushed around by an intruding organization founded 2 years ago and labeled extremist upon its inception. I would not have the respect I do for my school and my community if teachers were allowed to be intimidated and shy away from educating us on topics deemed inappropriate. I could never be a proud Texan student if our state engaged in the same banning of books, silencing of teachers, and censorship of curriculums that this group has helped to propagate in a state like Florida. I have a deep respect for my teachers when they are allowed to teach us difficult and uncomfortable topics. I'm lucky to have an English teacher who teaches us to think for ourselves and to reflect on beliefs that we may take for granted. And I'm lucky to have a history teacher who is unafraid to educate us on the mistakes of our past. We, of course, have the option to step outside if we're ever uncomfortable, but I have yet to see any student leave. We go to school to learn, and if we want to seek knowledge, you cannot hide it from us. This group that I've been talking about calls themselves Moms for Liberty, which they seem to think gives them the right to control your child. Right. Don't let them. Only you can raise your child, and it is your responsibility to instill in them the values that you believe in. Every parent knows that the moment they try to dictate their kid's life for them is the moment they lose control. I'm blessed to have a great relationship with my parents, and that's thanks to them teaching me to navigate the world for myself rather than sheltering me from it. Do not let this organization infringe upon our freedom of speech or our independence. Keep knowledge free and keep this community ours. Thank you.
Lastly, I'd like to invite Dr. Nick Harpster to the podium. Dr. Harpster.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
My name is Nick Harpster, 1921 61st Street. I have a sophomore at Monterey High. I've been teaching college students for almost 15 years, and I've been reading books for probably about 48. I've never had any restrictions placed on what was available for me to read, and I understand the importance of providing a variety of information to enhance critical thinking. I'm here this morning to give you the same talking point that one of your more common speakers in the morning as well. Do your job. That's all I'm asking. Continue doing your job. Keep doing your job. Keep allowing the people that you hire, that you have in place, that are trained and educated to be librarians to do their job. Provide mentally challenging, culturally, racially, and sexually diverse, representative library materials. We do not need book distributors who do not have librarian credentials to be forced to make these decisions for us. If HB 900 passes, we will lose this local control and the ability for our great librarians to do this job for us. K through 12 librarians in Texas must have a master's degree, a teaching license with at least 2 years experience in K through 12 education, a completed state-approved program in librarianship, and a passing score on the state librarian certificate exam. Through this, they have core values, professional standards, and ethics that they are required to uphold. These passionate leaders of education and reading know what books are best for the students and the communities that they serve, not a small group of people that want to compel their beliefs on the majority. The American Library Association has a freedom to read statement that declares, "It is the responsibility of publishers and librarians as guardians of the people's freedom to read to contest encroachments upon that freedom by individuals or groups seeking to impose their own standards or tastes upon the community at large, and by the government when it seeks to reduce or deny public access to public education." One of the definitions of education is an enlightening experience. Books are often challenged in a misguided attempt to erase the fact that marginalized communities exist and to exclude the realities of their lives from the discussion. This is antithetical to the definition of education, especially public education. If these people want to shelter their children and provide them with such a narrow worldview, then they should think twice about even sending their children to public school. Otherwise, they can monitor what their own kids do and keep the other kids out of it. Library materials are extracurricular reading materials and have absolutely no bearing on what your children are exposed to unless they're seeking them out because you're making it such a big subject in your family discussions. With proper parenting, you can have discussions with your child about what they're reading and why, and have the difficult talks that could come from being exposed to something they may not know about or understand. It is your job as a parent to do this, not the school's job to remove a few books that you personally have issues with. If you truly think this option is going to help keep your kids in a protective bubble, then you have a lot more battles that you're going to have to deal with in the rest of the real world. This is about more than a few passages and a few select books. This is an attempt to bully an entire system to cower to your beliefs, and I'm here to remind you the opposition is unwavering and resolute. Thank you.
At this time, an executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. 7:38 a.m., and we are adjourned to closed session. It is 7:58 a.m. and we are reconvened from executive closed session. Do we have any action items following closed session? Seeing none, item 6, financials. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board regarding any of the financial items posted? Seeing none. Item A, approval of budget summary report for the month ending September 30th, 2023. Budget amendments and budget transfers for the month of September 2023. Statement of taxes collected for the month ending September 30th, 2023. And investment report for the period of September 1 through September 30th, 2023. Shay?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, so September is the third month of our fiscal year. You're going to see one major amendment. It looks like it's a lot of amendments, but it all ties back to one thing, and that is the booking of our estimated TRS on behalf revenue as well as the expenditures, and that's spread out obviously amongst many functions in the thing. We book the estimated now so that our revenue is closer to what it's going to be at the end of the year.
Shay,
to
can you
comply
speak
with,
up, please? I can't
sorry,
hear you.
to comply with first, and then we will amend it towards the end of the year to what we actually expect to get. And then tax collections are 1% right now, which is normal. Our heaviest tax collection months are usually January and February. And then our investment average rate of return right now is 6.3%. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Trustees, any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the September financials as presented?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, consent agenda. Consider board approval of the minutes for the called public hearing and regular meeting held October 12th, 2023. Do we have any corrections to the minutes from the October meeting? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as printed. Item 8, academic action items. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board regarding the academic action items that have been posted on the agenda? Seeing none, approval of Head Start grant application for the program year beginning March 1st, 2024. Dr. Rowland.
Yes, we have 2 items for you to consider and approve today regarding Head Start. The first one is just your approval of our Head Start grant application for the program year beginning March 1st, 2024. This will bring in dollars for us to serve 540 students in our Head Start pre-K.
Nice.
Questions? Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries unanimously. Approval of Head Start required procedures and plans. Dr. Rowland.
Yes, this is an annual item which requires your consideration and approval of the annual report and then a program information report. Those are in your extras. I do want to take a moment and thank Kathy Pearson. Where's Kathy? Is she here? Thank you for everything you do for our Head Start students and our pre-K students and kindergarten students in Lubbock ISD.
Questions? I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries unanimously. Item C, approval of the 2023-24 district and campus improvement plans and the targeted improvement plans. Dr. Rowland.
Yes, this is an annual item that we bring to you normally in October, but with the delay of accountability, we waited a little bit longer to see if we might have more information. Knowing that we're not going to now until probably February, we decided to go ahead and bring these to you now because it's already November. But rest assured, our campuses have already been working on the goals that they've put in this plan. The goals that are in our campus improvement plans as well as our district improvement plans are aligned to your board goals that you have set for us. I want to thank Beth Barrage. She oversees this for the district, and also our executive principals who work closely with our principals on their plans. And then Debbie Alderson also serves as a tremendous resource, particularly around those targeted improvement plans that are required. We asked you guys to review in advance the campuses in your districts, and then Beth and Zach, the district improvement plan. I'm happy to answer any questions or have Beth help us answer any questions. keep in mind that this is a formative process. We approve them once a year, but the campuses can go in and make adjustments as they need to. When you look at the plans, there's a lot, because there's a lot of things that are required by law to be in campus improvement plans. But on the campus, they have a nitty-gritty one-pager that they know, their teachers and campus staff know is what they're working on. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yeah, I've got two, Dr. Rollo. One, what's the, I guess, follow-up or accountability for the plans? Like, when you look at these from year to year, there seems like some of the same things are pointed out on the same campuses. So what are we doing to help them, I guess, accomplish some of the goals that they have? And then the second thing I noticed on here, my favorite subject, iStation, was noted that it was not either not used well, or they were not effective in using the results. And so that's been I guess, a stickler of mine for a while. It does not appear to be working. And so what I guess, on both those fronts?
So that is part of that coaching process with our executive principals when they're visiting campuses, as far as the accountability piece. We also have tiered our campuses, and so I know Misty met with 2 different campuses yesterday with a team, and they go through those goals and plans and talk about what strategies they're using to make sure that they're making progress toward those goals. So that tiered process helps us throughout the year. How often do you guys meet?
We meet every month with those that are our Tier 3 campuses, but also when you see on your action item, those campuses that either have a TIP or an ESF grant. TIP is because you're in need of assistance, which means you're part of our group. ESF means you received a grant to make improvements. They have to send in quarterly reports with artifacts showing that they have made improvements toward those goals, and then are rated based upon those artifacts. And those actually go to the state, and we review those as well. With the TIP campuses, we review those more often.
So to the first component that Ryan asked, just to probably try and tie things up, it'd be safe to say there's a quality assurance plan with regard to accountability.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we have short-term and long-term goals inside of those. So what you see many times in the campus improvement plan is the long-term goal, but we create short-term to get there to make sure that we're headed in the right direction.
I think it'd be, and I apologize for not knowing, but I think it'd be good for us to get those, like in the Friday update or whatnot. I mean, if we're reviewing the plans, to review, track, how the campuses are doing.
We have rolling agendas on all of them that we can share with you, what our action steps are, what our gap is, and what we're doing to work on that space. So, absolutely.
So what campuses are utilizing iStation still?
All of our elementary campuses are
Okay.
using
Except-
iStation. Implementation varies. Some campuses use it with fidelity and use the results regularly in their PLCs, and they guide the conversations that that the teachers are having about student progress. Some campuses are not using it as well. I know we had training yesterday on iStation with some of our campus principals.
And some of what you saw too, we also did some diagnostic work last spring that I know that we've talked about this, that we are no longer using iStation in middle school. And that may be part of what you saw, that we did some strategic abandonment. We did decide that it was not working for what we needed for our kids. And so we're using different intervention pieces with middle school students that are more effective. They're more bought into, and we seem to be making more intense progress, with kids that are really struggling, that are all the way back in their reading levels at early elementary, that have some significant gaps.
So would it be safe to say there's a certain level of heterogeneity with regard to how it's implemented at certain campuses? So for instance, you might be at one institution and one teacher may choose to use iStation more than another.
So yes, in practice. The ISIP is the test that is given every month, and that is consistent across all campuses. Usage, though, is, I would say we're relatively consistent, but I wouldn't put us at 100% fidelity of consistency. We also are doing we're looking into that data and looking into what is taking place, what is working. And we have a few campuses that are also piloting some work around M-Class, which is another alternative that is part of Amplify curriculum. So we are also trying to make sure that we are doing some quality assurance inside, to use your language, Chris, to make sure that we're moving in the right direction.
To Ryan's point, I think that'd be good, you know, to have a control group and, you know, what you're doing to measure impact and see what's most effective.
I agree. I was going to say, so in middle school, so what are you utilizing for those kids that are not using iStation now?
For students that are reading below grade level, we have some Amplify intervention
lot.
pieces that they are using, that they are implementing into small group, and then some individual testing that they're doing with kids to see what the issue is.
And the data looks good on that?
The
so
data
far?
is growth, but that is a difficult road because you're imagining a 6th, 7th, or 8th grade teacher, and that's a very small number of kids. But due to whatever life circumstance, they have significant gaps in their reading, so it takes a lot of one-on-one intentional intervention.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of iStation myself.
I do want to remind you that TIA
is a part of that,
for
yes.
kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade. iStation is what is part of our TIA plan.
And
to
that's
measure
what
growth.
grade you said, Kathy? I'm sorry.
For kindergarten,
Oh,
1st,
I
and
can see
2nd grade
that.
teachers.
I can see that.
Then there's no amendment that we can file to change that down the road?
We would have to find some, it would have to be approved to get a growth
Yeah.
measure. And iStation is approved by EVOS to develop a growth measure.
Because just Misty, for the record, and I'm not going to call out campuses. I don't think that's fair in this process. But the things that I'm talking about on iStation and ISEP are all elementary schools. This wasn't middle
Okay.
schools in my district.
No, that's great. That's great. And that's good to know. Yeah. And we are taking feedback, but like Dr. Rollo said, because it's a part of TIA, it does make that conversation more complicated.
And you said you guys had to do some training with some campuses with principals on iStation?
We offered optional training.
And we had some teachers here we have what's called Amplify After Hours, which is our fun, once a month, you can come in and pick sessions that you want to go to for all of our RLA teachers in elementary. And we had a trainer here last night that was helping with some of the diagnostic data to look at how you small group your kids. And then what do you do when you small group your kids to make sure that our new teachers know what to do.
And are you requiring it from the campuses that are struggling?
So our elementary campuses that are struggling, we encourage them to come to Amplify After Hours, but we send coaches out to actually work with their teachers one-on-one that is inside the day. So if they're unable to make it to Amplify After Hours or to other events, we have extra layers of coaching support that happen during their contract hours.
Any further questions or discussions? Do I have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 district and campus improvement plans and targeting improvement plans for the identified campuses as presented?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed with the same. Motion carries 7-0 unanimously. Approval of innovative course, team sport officiating. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so as a Board of Trustees, you have the ability to consider and approve an innovative course. And we have a need in our community for more sports officials. That is an area where we're struggling to cover and make sure we have enough people to cover those games. And so we were approached with the idea of developing an elective team sport officiating class that students could take, and when they finish that course, they would actually be certified to serve as a referee. So we are bringing this to you. It would be offered at our high schools. The course would have to in other words, enough students would have to sign up to take the course. It would not be an additional teacher. We would utilize existing PE teachers to teach that course. There has been some interest in that, and so we're bringing this to you for consideration.
I'd like to propose an amendment, and that's that Mike Leach teaches the ball.
And that's because of the shortage. Makes sense. I think that's a good thing.
Any discussion?
I think it's awesome. God bless those
Same
kids.
here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there gonna be like additional funding for earmuffs so they don't have to listen to the parents? You know?
And I guess I would ask, just in all fairness, will our high school students be getting the same pay rate? You gotta come up here, Mike.
This is exciting for us. I want you to know that.
Right.
First of all, over the years we've had a need in the state of Texas. It's been a problem with the amount of sports officials that we have in Lubbock, Texas. We haven't seen that quite as much over the years, but recently we're starting to feel that. We're moving games from Friday to Thursday night in our smaller classifications and those kinds of things. So we'd like to teach this class. It's not exactly the opportunity that they're going to actually be an official, but it's to teach them to be an official when they leave high school and launch them into officiating. Because until now, all we've done is advertise with our coaches and our kids, our seniors. Hey, when you go to college or you take the next step, hey, we want to, want to earn some extra money, go be a sports official. There's officials here that I had when I was coaching at Coronado that are calling now that we just the encouragement part. But this class is going to launch kids into officiating whether if they're in college, it's going to be a great side job for a college student. And yes, they'll earn the same amount of money that everybody's that our officials are earning right now for example. On a Monday or Tuesday night, calling a seventh grade A game and a 7th grade B game in football, you can make $130 a night. And if you do that Monday and Tuesday night, then now those kids have a chance to earn some money. And the impact, though, is that in the state of Texas, the average official, and all officials, is 45 years old. So you look at that, we have a lot of old officials that are eventually going to retire. And we need a new breed coming in, and I really believe that this class is going to launch our kids, whether they're taking the next step into college or university, and provide them an opportunity to have a job at their own leisure, to earn money, and then provide a big boost for our officials' allotment.
So for those students that are not in PE and they're wanting to take this course, will they get a PE credit for that?
It's an elective. It's an elective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an elective.
Well, it's an
And
PE.
we've been in discussion with our
Right.
officials associations, and there's tons of support's going to pour into this class.
Are there other districts that have this type of class? I mean, so do we have?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's 30-plus districts in the state that are doing it right now. And right now, it's a TEA approved class. Jolie is working with. We're working on another more curriculum that we can pour into this, and so I think we'll be very prepared when this.
So Misty, so in the other districts, is it also an elective?
Yes, ma'am. We don't select that. That's part of the state code.
Okay, thank you. It'd been great, get a credit.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Great idea.
I have a motion to approve the course team sport officiating.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries unanimously. Approval of memorandum of understanding with Texas Tech Health Sciences Center, Drug Intervention and Adolescent Substance Use Disorders Program. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, I am very excited to bring this to you today. As you guys are aware, you approved our District of Innovation plan in the spring, and part of that included a plan to try to help keep kids who are first or second offenders with controlled substance or alcohol, keeping them on their campus, but putting something in place where they're getting some true intervention that's targeting what the problem is, instead of just sending them to Priority Intervention Academy for however many days. Keeping them in their classes, keeping them on campus, but some kind of program that would help truly meet that need. We also, though, were very concerned about placing that burden on our campuses to help fill that need. And Kami Finger, I just want to give her a huge shout out for her vision around this and her collaboration. But this is a memorandum of understanding with Texas Tech Health Sciences Center. We have Dr. Carr here today, Jeff Carr, and we have Raquel Sina. So we want to thank you both for your partnership in this work. They are going to provide the intervention on our campuses for our students who are in this situation. And so this memorandum of understanding allows us to move forward with that. Kami, do you want to come up and add anything else?
First, I'd like to say that it's been far more than just myself coming up with the innovative idea around this. And so definitely want to be sure to give kudos to Coronado administration. It really started as their brainchild. Tyler Trout, Brian Ellison has been a big piece of this as well, and others. And so let me just say that it's been a long process getting it together. We heard from you all in that we did not want this to be an administrative burden on our campus administration. And so what Tech is doing is they're accessing state funds through the governor's office and supplying us for the first year about $150,000 to pay extra duty pay to our counselors and some teachers to provide this instruction to our students after school. The instruction covers things such as brain research and an impact that it has on our brain as far as controlled substances and chemicals do, what that looks like for brain development across time, long-term implications from long-term use, such as driving under the influence, incarceration, what that looks like in real life. For someone who decides to engage and continue making the choice to use. It talks about, it will cover for our students the decision-making process as we decide to step into those decisions and make good choices or poor choices. Impulse control. Adolescents have poor impulse control. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It's just that brain development process, that amygdala response. What does that look like and sound like? Why might you be more apt to become an addict than other people? Genetics, those kinds of things. Communicating their needs, advocating for themselves. Maybe they're not exposed to a healthy way of saying, I need help. Productive coping strategies and access to support groups. And so we did stand up our pilots this week. We started with our middle school Site 1 at the ATC. That is Dunbar, Atkins, Cavazos, and OL Slayton. We've received reports so far that things are going well. Students are engaged. Students are interested in the concepts and the topics. And then at Coronado High School, we're getting the very same report from them. So we're very hopeful. After you, and if you pass this today, we'll stand up the rest of our middle school and high school campuses. The next year, the amount of grant will increase to about $240,000, and then we'll look at sustainability. Other people involved in this have been Dr. Kim Kursick, Dr. Zach Sneed, Dr. Nancy Trevino, Dr. Jennifer Rojos McWinney, and then, of course, we have Dr. Carr and Raquel with us today. So a very concerted group effort. Brian and I will have collaborative meetings with the staff at all sites on an ongoing basis to check progress. We are tracking the data. We're tracking the success rate of each student. If they've progressed through the program level 1 and we never see them again, if they come level 2 and we see them again, if at level 3 they go to the DAEP, then further intervention and potentially further treatment. All of this is based on parental consent. So if a parent chooses not to engage in this process with their child, that is up to them as a parent, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to have an impact and that we can put a dent in the vaping epidemic that we have in our society.
Thank you. Kami, just really quickly, and I commend you and everybody involved for the creativity in trying to address this problem, because it's a humongous problem, as we know. We can't, look the other way any longer. And this isn't for discussion today. It would just be something that I would ask you and the people involved to discuss, and I'm sure you've already done your due diligence. You mentioned consent, so that's going to be an important part, if you're capturing data and, planning on publishing it or not publishing it. The other thing I would consider is, has this research gone through an institutional review board, and with regard to, is it ethical?
Absolutely.
And then, of course, again, just thanks for the efforts.
Absolutely, yes. And all of the things that you said, yes to.
Kami, or Dr. Rolla, whoever wants to answer this, I know we're paying extra pay, but are the counselors volunteering for this, or are we forcing them?
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
everybody who helps is because they want to.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And they're a unique group of individuals. They're wanting to take this on and own it. Brian and I have had to do little work around pushing anyone down the road as far as what the development looks like. They're having their own collaborative meetings. They're talking about ways to implement the curriculum, like at the middle school sites, for example, starting in a large group, or do we go small group? Campuses are really wanting to own their groups of students. We're really not talking about more than 5 or 6 kids per small group session, so it's going to make it very meaningful and relevant and personable, and so they're taking that on. And for those instances where they need help with coverage, they're not able to make it that day, then we have additional support staff to take their place. And so we don't want this to be stressful on them either, and it is a great way to earn, you know, about $6,000 extra a year in addition to their salary. And so,
And I believe I heard you say this, these are state funds that is covering all of this and through grants. And
Yes,
so
sir.
no additional financial burden as well.
Nope.
Outstanding. Well done.
would be tech.
And just looking through the MOU, Kami, I would hope that there would be some type of community advisory group that helps to see this, though, made up of those parents that you need to get consent from, as well as other advocates within the community. You know, I know it's a rich, robust group with the knowledge at the HSC, right? But bringing in the community voice to help co-create this program, I think that's essential.
Yep, that is definitely a piece that we're lacking right now, and we agree a consortium of some sort is definitely something that we can set our next focus on.
Absolutely.
Great.
Trustees, any further discussion?
Thanks, Cami.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the MOU with TTU HSC?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion passes unanimously. Item 9, administrative action items. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board regarding the administrative action items posted? Item A, approval of the 22-23 annual financial and compliance report. I will turn it over to Ms. Shay Jennings again.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Again, yes, this is the approval of our 22-23 annual audit. I would like to start off by thanking Bollinger Seegers, Gilbert and Moss, who are our audit partners. We've had a very good relationship with them for several years. And also to my team, Donna Navarro, Nathan Schwartz, and everyone else. Without this, we could not do the work that we do. And so I appreciate them very much. And I will turn it over to Trey Rowe, who is the partner with Bollinger Seegers, Gilbert and Moss.
Morning, Trey.
Good morning. Well, we were out here, of course, your year end is June 30, so we were out here in August and conducted field work. Everything went good. We were out here for about a week and then wrapped up in our office. You have an audit report. You should have an audit report in front of you. I'm not going to go through it. I went through it in detail in the Finance Committee meeting, and I just wanted to hit some highlights with you. We passed out a single sheet that shows 2023 audit highlights, report highlights at the top. Also in your audit report, it's not comparative because your governmental accounting standards don't allow for comparative reporting. So this is just some numbers from the 2023 audit and from the 2022 audit. Again, I'm not going to go over all these numbers, but you can kind of see, you know, where your cash position is and where your fund balances are. Under the general fund, you can see revenues and expenditures there. You can see your revenues were up and your expenditures were up as well. You end up with a decrease in fund balance in your general fund of about $3 million for 22-23. If you look right next to that, you ended up with an increase, a big increase last year, about $12 million. Some of that's timing related. You got some insurance proceeds in the prior year that you did, like roof replacements during 22-23, and so those expenditures and revenues didn't really line up. So that's one of the reasons you've got a big increase last year and a decrease this year. Just on down towards the bottom of that page, you can see your capital projects. I was just going to point out that, you know, you spent about $22 million in the prior year of your bond proceeds and about $24 million this year. So that's all pretty steady. In the audit report, again, I'm not going to go through it, but it does have two bases of accounting, the government-wide and the fund level. Fund level is what you typically look at monthly. But on the government-wide, it does have some different things. It has your long-term assets and long-term liabilities. And at the bottom of that, that report is supposed to show what your position would look like if you were a business and not a government. So at the bottom of that, it shows your net position, and it shows a $49 million net position and an unrestricted net position, or net deficit actually, of $72 million. But included in those numbers, I like to always point out, is your share of the TRS's pension and the other post-employment benefits liabilities, and those aren't really the district's liabilities. They're the state's liability, but from government accounting standards, you're required to put your proportionate share on there. So if you took those out, your total position, net position, would be about $218 million. That's really a more true picture of the district, and your unrestricted net position would be $96.7 million. So overall, in your bound audit report, there's 3 reports. The big one is at the front. It's the independent auditor's report. This gives our opinion on the financial statements, and that is a clean, unmodified report, same as we've given in the past. And then in the back of the audit are a couple other reports. There's a report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. That's required by government auditing standards, and we had no findings to report there either. And then finally, there's a report right behind that. It's a combined report on major federal and state programs. And this is your single audit. You have a federal single audit, which you've always had, and a state single audit, which you have depending on how much state money ECI gives you. So your major programs in the federal side, where your ESSER, that's required to be major, and then your IDIB, special ed cluster, and your Title I grants. Those were your 3 major programs in federal. We had no findings on those. Of course, ECI was your big state program, major program, and we had no finding to report there either. So overall, like I said, there's no findings. The audit went good. The financials look good from our perspective. There weren't any significant adjustments that we had to make to get everything materially correct for your financial statements. So overall, I think Shay and Donna and the accounting staff are doing a good job monthly to get you good, accurate information to base your decisions on. So it's a good report from us. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? All right. We'll obtain a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you, Trey. Next, approval of resolution casting votes for Lubbock Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, we are asking to distribute our 1,352 votes equally among the 5 candidates, Sonny Garza, Brady Goen, Greg Jones, Bobby McQueen, and Noe Reynolds.
Trustees,
As equally as we can.
As equally as we can, amongst 5. Trustees, are there any comments?
Mr. President, just a request to note for the record that I abstain from this action item.
Let the record note that Mr. Brady is abstaining.
I will also need to abstain.
And let the record indicate also likewise for Mr. Zepeda. With those 2 abstaining, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0 with 2 abstaining. Approval of one-time payment to district employees. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so as Lauren Smith so eloquently shared before, we are very grateful to our employees for their patience in not being able to adopt a compensation plan as we were waiting on the legislature to do its work. But we have decided not to wait any longer, and I appreciate this Board of Trustees for last month approving $2.7 million of fund balance to be designated to compensation in some form or fashion. And today we bring to you a recommendation that was discussed by the Finance Committee at length, but we want to do a one-time payment of $1,100 for all people who are on the STEP schedule, and then a 2% from the midpoint for people who are on a salary scale. And this would be in their November paycheck, and again, it's a one-time payment. We hope that the legislature will continue to work on this and come up with a plan, but for now, this will give our employees some much-needed relief. I also want to thank Lisa Thompson and her team who oversees payroll, because it is quite a lift to make this happen in time for it to be in their November paycheck. So many, many thanks to Lisa and her team for making that possible upon your approval today.
Trustees, any comments?
That's coming out of the fund balance, right? And then another partial from
Well,
somewhere else.
2.7 million of it is coming out of fund balance. The actual cost is a little more than that, so we'll scrub and find the remaining.
I like that, scrub and find, because I keep that in mind. For May, June.
All right. Well, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes the administrative action items. Next, item 10 on the agenda is procurement and contracts. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board regarding any of the procurement and contract items posted? Item A, approval of district purchases. Mr. Rick Rodriguez.
Thank you, Pastor Stubblefield. Good morning, Board of Trustees. Just have a few items to run by for your approval. It is time for us to re-adopt. We've gone through a procurement process for our health plan stop-loss insurance. This information was brought to the Operations Committee and reviewed in detail. And so we're pleased to bring you this recommendation here, and it will be at a less cost than what we paid last year. And so we're excited and appreciate Ms. Thompson and her work with our consultants, Marsh McLennan. The second one is our college board. This is for the AP exams. And so we ask all of our students to take that are qualified to take the AP exams. This is a part of our TIA data that we use, and so it's critical. We receive some for those students that are free and reduced. We do receive some relief from TEA, as well as there's another source here.
College board.
Yeah, College Board, thank you. And but bottom line, we do not charge our kids. Our kids get the opportunity to go and take the AP exam. Otherwise, they would have to pay to take this AP exam for college entrance. So we're pleased to bring that before you this morning. And then the next one is a partnership with Texas Tech University. It's an interlocal agreement helping with professional development and training for Cavazos Middle School. We're using title funds to pay for that partnership there. The next two, one is classroom furniture. We're using ESSER funds. Again, continuing to spend those ESSER funds before they expire. And then the last one on here is as a result of the fund balance designation. We're going to purchase 3 of the ultraliners. If you recall, we purchased one just to see if it was what would work for us, and we've received nothing but positive feedback about that ultraliner, and so we will start beginning the process. Every time we purchase these, there'll be one less Van Hool, which is the flat nose charter buses that are old and have millions of miles on them. We'll start exiting them as we replace with the new coach liners. It will be a while before we get these, but the sooner we get them ordered, the sooner they'll be here. So we're going to start that process.
And they're brand new, Rick?
These will be brand new, yes, sir.
Did you say 3?
3, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What's the lifespan, just out of curiosity, for an ultraliner?
Well, they're fairly new to the market, but what we're hearing from them is the lifespan is actually longer because they're diesel engines. They're not the German-made engines that the Van Hools have, and so diesel mechanics can work on them much easier, like ones that work on our yellow dogs. And so the lifespan, we don't really quite have that data. The data isn't there because they're just coming online. So a lot of districts started using them about 2 to 3 years ago, but all the feedback. We went actually to Oklahoma City where where we're purchasing them from, to the yard, and there was actually a one that was, I believe it was 4 or 5 years old. I'm not sure if Steven's in here. 4 or 5 years old, and it looked brand new. So the upkeep is really good. The seating is better. It's not cloth seats; they're leather seats, so they last longer. So we're pleased about that.
Any further discussion? Not, do I have a collection motion to approve the district purchases as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of district contract renewals. Rick?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Pastor Stubblefield. One item for your consideration this morning here. This is our renewal for our digital print services. These are our copiers. And the one special thing I'll point out to you is we are extending the life because we've cared and maintained our units in the district. We're able to stretch their life for another year without having to replace them. We should theoretically be replacing the units this year. This would be the year we would replace them. They're in such good shape, we're able to use them for another year under this lease to the savings of about $330,000. So we're pleased to bring that to you this morning.
Trustees, any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of construction job order contracting delivery method and delegation of authority. Rick?
Yes, sir. Pastor Stubblefield, thank you. So this is a delivery method we're requesting for 3 projects, which is our district-wide fencing. We continue to work towards securing the rest of the facilities that we have not yet been able. If you recall, last year or the last time we did this, we only had 1 respondent, and so we have more this time, and so we're hoping to be able to take that on and get these other this as a district function going further along. And then the hallway painting at Brown Elementary, we continue to make improvements there, and then our hardening here at central office. And keep in mind, this is a delivery method. This is not starting the project, but it is the process to get started on the project.
Any questions? I'm going to read this in its entirety. Do I have a motion to approve delegating authority to the superintendent for choosing criteria, relative weights, ranking, selecting and evaluation of proposals, and approval of the use of the job order contracting delivery method for the projects presented?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of district construction purchases. Rick Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. Thank you. One last thing for you, I think. And so this is our construction purchases for this go-round for this month. We have the outdoor learning space at Bean Elementary. Continue to make improvements there for that outdoor learning space. We'll be using title funds for this. Portable building improvements at Brown. We brought this to you as a job order contract delivery method last time we were here, and so we're ready to move forward with that project. And then our Agristan barn that we are moving forward in the construction. We'll be using bond money for that project.
Trustees, any comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries unanimously. That concludes the procurement and contract section. This time, item 11, district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Dr. Rillo.
Yes, so as you guys are well aware, last year the governor required intrusion audits, and these are handled by our regional service centers, but they send someone out to check exterior doors of our campuses. We have had 14 of our campuses have had an audit thus far this school year. We are required by law to announce in a board meeting if we've had any findings, and we have had 2 findings on our campuses. I'm not going to share which campuses for safety purposes, but that can be shared with you in an executive session and will also be shared with our safety and security committee that meets quarterly. and we have already taken corrective action in both of these instances. I want to thank Stacy Carter, and she does a fantastic job of overseeing this for us and helping us with those corrective action steps. And I also want to thank our security officers and our police officers who also do regular door sweeps, and our campus administrators who check tirelessly to make sure that the doors are locked, both exterior and interior, although only exterior is required by the law.
And that's a change from last year, correct? Because last year they had to have the interior doors
It has
closed.
always been Lubbock ISD's policy.
Gotcha.
Last year, we had to report if there were any interior door findings. We don't have to do that this year.
Okay.
Any other comments? There is no action that will be taken on this. Thank you for that report, Dr. Rollo. At this time, we move into item 12 of our agenda, which is a grievance hearing. We have a level 3 grievance hearing for Mr. Tony Chavez. We're going to give a minute. We'll take about 5 minutes. It's 8:44. We'll say 6 minutes, and at 8:50, just so we can get arranged and everybody get in their positions, okay? Good morning again. This time we'll start the level 3 grievance hearing of Lubbock ISD dated November 9th, 2023 for Tony Chavez, the DGBA complaint. The next item on the agenda is the grievance hearing for Tony Chavez. Dr. Rollo, has there been a request for the hearing to be in open session?
Yes.
Thank you. The board will stay in open session to hear a level 3 complaint by Tony Chavez. Mr. Tony Chavez has filed a grievance concerning his employment with the district pursuant to the board policy DGBA local. In accordance with the grievance policy DGBA local, I have received and distributed to the board copies of Mr. Chavez's written complaint forms and the administration's written response to the level 2 grievance. Mr. Chavez filed his level 1 grievance on May 10th, 2023 regarding his complaints of 1, equal pay for equal work, 2, nepotism, and 3, Mrs. Amy Baker tampering with a state document. The level 1 hearing was conducted on May 24, 2023. A timely response was provided by Max Flores on June 12, 2023, giving the results of his findings. Mr. Chavez appealed the decision to level 2 on June 15, 2023. The level 2 hearing was held on July 6, 2023, and a timely response was provided by Rick Rodriguez on July 25, 2023. Mr. Chavez then appealed the level 2 decision to level 3 on August 7, 2023. According to board policy DGBA local, this timely level 3 hearing was scheduled and board members were provided copies of the appeal forms and responses as well as other documents that constitute the record in this grievance. Also, for the record, there is a quorum of the board present at this proceeding, and I am Bill Stubblefield, President of the Board of Trustees for Lubbock ISD. To establish on the record that the board can render a fair decision, I ask that any member of this hearing body who cannot be fair and unbiased in deciding this matter to excuse himself or herself at this time. Is there anyone who feels they should be excused? Seeing none, let the record reflect that no one has indicated that they cannot be impartial in this matter. In order to provide the most accurate record possible, a tape recording and video of this proceeding is being made. Please avoid talking when others are speaking so that the tape will reflect the proceedings accurately. Also, please identify yourself when you speak so that the record will be clear. Will Mr. Chavez or his representative please state your names at this time?
My name is Tony Chavez, Jr.
Phyllis Gant Campbell's Lubbock chapter NAACP.
Will the representatives for the Lubbock Independent School District Administration please state your name?
Rick Rodriguez.
We have convened today to consider the grievance of Tony Chavez. This is a level 3 hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to give Mr. Chavez the opportunity to fully present any testimony or evidence he may have in support of his grievance on the issues of 1, equal pay for equal work, 2, nepotism, and 3, Ms. Amy Baker's tampering with a state document, and to allow the appropriate administrators to also present pertinent testimony and or evidence. This hearing procedure we use is simple. Mr. Chavez will go first and present his complaints. Mr. Rodriguez, Chief Operations Officer for LISD, will then have an opportunity to respond. Mr. Chavez, you or your representative may make your presentation by presenting any relevant testimony or evidence in support of your allegations. At the conclusion of this presentation, Mr. Rodriguez may make his own presentation as he deems necessary. I will allow each party a maximum of 30 minutes to make their presentation. If either party has remaining time, a maximum of 5 minutes may be reserved for closing comments. Please note, this is not a trial-type evidentiary hearing. It is instead a hearing according to the board policy, and it will be conducted accordingly. Thus, Mr. Chavez, We thank you for your grievance. This is not a court proceeding, thus there will be no cross-examination. In addition, in the interest of time, I will allow witnesses for both parties to remain in the room. Are there any questions for me related to these procedures?
No, sir.
I just want to, just for clarification, we are not related, Mr. Chavez and I, just for clarification. I don't want people to think I'm favoritism or anything, so I want to put that out there.
Let the record note that Trustee Chavez is not related to Mr. Tony Chavez. If not, if that's the final question, then let us proceed. Mr. Chavez, you now have a maximum of 30 minutes to present. Do you wish to reserve any of your time to make closing arguments?
Yes.
You may now begin your presentation and let the record reflect that the time is now 9 a.m. You may begin.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Tony Chavez. I'm currently a teacher at Dunbar Preparatory College School. I was assigned 7 years ago to Estacado High School as a law program instructor. I wanted to start with, I have been told on many occasions that I don't listen, that I don't listen. He's just a disgruntled employee. In fact, I'm just a teacher that is trying to do what is best for all students. One thing that I want to know is why? Why was my law program canceled in the middle of the semester? What did I do so bad to take me out of all the students' lives completely, taking me out of Estacado High School? I've been taken completely out of their lives, out of the high school completely. Why? The district canceled the law program in the middle of the year. Who does that? If there were any opportunities for the students to be successful, they were all taken away from them. Transparency is what the district says. Your motto as a district is every child, every day. My motto is changing lives one student at a time. That's what I did for the past 7 years. I changed lives one student at a time. I had to say that what I did a good job at doing it. Estacado is on the east side. We teach and we host a low-income school, minority, Title I school, students that come from broken homes. Most students don't know if they're going to eat when they get home. Some don't have a ride to the school when it's freezing weather, but they still show up. I gave them hope to students that didn't believe in themselves. I made them believe they were winners, not losers. I gave them opportunities. I gave them hope. I was in their life, their lifeline, and you took that all away. Why? Why was I taken from their lives, from Estacado High School, and reassigned? I had two options to be reassigned, Atkins and Dunbar. My alumni, Victor Ibarra, Lubbock County Sheriff's Department, Chelsea Chapman, Marines, Xavier Sandoval, Marines, Oscar Delgado, Navy, Christian Cardenas, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Teresa Rangel, College Criminal Justice, Jasmine Ford, College Criminal Justice, Jose Moreno, College Criminal Justice. These are all lives that I made an impact on. Even if it was 10, I had 65 students. I impacted their life. I made a change. 65 students is to me is a lot of students. In the program itself, it generates every year. It could be high, it could be low. One year I had 90 students. So the difference, so my question to the board is, did you guys ever vote? Was there a vote to cancel the law program at Estacado? Was there ever a vote? Did it ever come in front of the board? Ever? I want to talk about my experience, that what the district has done to me. December 1st, 2022, I had a conference with Miss Reber and Principal Wilbanks. on a conference call. I'm thinking that they're going to tell me the great things that I'm doing at Estacado. All the competitions, everything that I've done for the past 7 years. But that was totally the opposite. I was told that my program's being canceled. And the reason why it's being canceled is because the COB, which is a career offering book, is coming out in January. And you're not going to be in it. And I'm thinking to myself, why? How can this be possible? Canceling the program in the middle of the semester. When I had mock trial, team court, we had Skills USA, we had competitions that we had to do. Affected 20 lives that year. Any opportunities for these students gone. Ms. Reber asked a question, do you have any questions? I said, well, I don't have any questions, but I knew something was going on because of the way I've been treated beginning of the year, since August 1st. Ms. Wilbanks giving me the cold shoulder, not really, interacting with my program. Amy Baker taking away some of my funds, saying that you don't need all this money. I've asked for laptops for my students, denied. Apple laptops at that, MacBooks. She gave me Dell computers, and, the difference, laptops. Ms. Reber said, I'm glad you saw the writing on the wall. Who treats their employees that way? What writing on the wall was she talking about? Because of the way I've been treated? I did not get a phone call. I did not get a meeting from Ms. Wilbanks. Nobody wanted to talk to me. You would think that admin would want to actually talk to me and explain why my program is being canceled. Not a word. I had to go to Ms. Wilbanks to make the initial meeting. So during the meeting that I had with Ms. Wilbanks a couple of days later, first thing she said was, and that's why I wanted her to be a witness, first thing she said was, the district has been trying to cancel this program for 3 years. And I've done everything in my power to stop it. But today, they don't want me to send a PowerPoint. They don't want me to send a email. They don't want me to send any information. It's done. It's over. We don't want to hear it. We don't want any information. And I've asked the board on several occasions to play my recruitment video. And I've always been denied some way, somehow. So I'm asking today, if possible, is there a way for you guys to view my recruitment video? That's very important. That will tell you exactly what my program was about. Because my program is very unique in West Texas. Nobody in West Texas has my program. The ATC, when Ms. Reber went on the news and said, she made it sound, the district has made it sound like the ATC is a new program. It's brand new program. It just started. That is not true. The ATC started the law program 6 years ago. I've been with Estacado 7. So a year later, they hired Javad Deshawn is my first grievance. And I'm fixing to go over the grievances here in a minute. They hired him a year later. Then they hired Mr. Flores the year after that. So the ATC has always been there for 6 years. It's not a new program. It's not something new for the students. They want to talk about every child, every day. We want to give all LISD as a reasons why they canceled the program. We want to give every child the same opportunities. Well, when you want to take something, when you want to go do the law program at Estacado, you want to do the early college, you have to be a student. You have to enroll at the high school. Why? Why do you have to enroll? When you have programs at Lubbock High, the nursing, advanced nursing, the bus will pick you up, take you to Lubbock High, take you back to your campus. And that's in every high school. If there's a program that you want to take, they will bus you there. But the programs at Estacado, you have to be a student. You have to enroll at that school. Well, who wants to, in reality, who wants to go to Estacado? Who wants to be a student? It's the east side, right? East side. I've heard that they've called Estacado Estaghetto, is what I've heard from the community, people. So that's, if you look at the document that I gave there, I gave you a few documents. But if you want to go to my credentials, it's the Colorado Tech University. I've been told on numerous occasions that I'm not certified. I'm not a certified teacher. I don't have credentials. It's right there in black and white. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. My complaint is, if you look at the document, the additional documents, it says Tony. Below is a full update on records requested. Equal pay for equal work. Mr. Javad Deshawn does not have a bachelor's degree, does not have a certification in legal studies, and he teaches the courts at ATC. He has zero experience other than he worked at Friendship for 4 years. If you look at the documents, you guys should have looked at the documents, right? All the documents, the level 3. All the documents that are in there. If you look at his teacher certificate, he's certified an auto technician. It's a standardized teacher certificate, 8th grade through 12th. So if you had him do my job, he wouldn't be qualified at all. He couldn't teach 6th graders. He couldn't teach 6th and 7th. He can only teach 8th through 12th, and it says it on his teacher certificate. If you look at the document, Tony, below is the updated records for you requested. I requested these additional information after level 2 hearing. One of them is the career preparation and practicum, which is the internship. No one in LISD for the law program is certified except for me. Mr. Deshawn's certification for career preparation and practicum, the Lubbock ISD Human Resources Office does not keep a physical copy on file, due to the information being available to us on the Texas Education Agency. So if you have a practicum internship at the ATC for the program, you got to have these on hand for TEA, right? TEA comes in and does an audit. You got to have these records on hand. If you see the copy that I gave you, the career preparation, the practicum, I gave you a clear copy of it. It's in the, I don't think I have an actual copy of it. No, that's the, they say it's career preparation. It's in the
binder?
It's in the binder. If you look at it, it's number 28 in the binder. Number 20 in the binder, I gave you a clear copy of. If you have an internship in a program, for the law program or any program at the ATC, you got to have this certificate. According to the district, none on record. Mr. Deshawn, let's go to the next one. Mr. Deshawn credentials, associate's or bachelor's degree. The record does not exist due to the position allowing for a different path to qualifications through work experience. So when they hired him, they just went off his 4 years at Friendship. When his teacher certificate, it's in the binder, it says auto technician. Anybody can get up and read a PowerPoint and teach and tell somebody this is what you do in the court proceedings. If you look at his teacher certificate, if you look at his file, he has no credentials. Zero to work. And if you look at the State Board Educators Certificate 19 TAC Chapter 231, under law, public corrections, and security grades, 9th through 12th, it says work experience. But you go down to the very bottom, this is what the district says, yes, you are certified to teach because we have a certification under trade and industrial. But you look down, it says, plus a valid license appropriate for this assignment. So his license is under auto tech. How is that qualified to teach legal studies? He doesn't even have a paralegal license. And if you look in the binder, each teacher at ATC is making more than I am. It's in the binder. It tells you, if you look in the binder, it tells you he makes $60,000 a year and I make 57. How is that possible? When I have the degree, I have the credentials, and he doesn't. That's number one. Equal pay for equal work, that pretty much sums it up. I don't want to spend too much time because 30 minutes goes by fast. So if you look at my qualifications, bachelor's degree in criminal justice, 4 years parole officer, state of Texas, 4 years armed guard, Air Force private contract, 8 years detention center officer, 7 years as mock trial coach, 7 years as building search felony stop instructor, 7 years as Skills USA advisor, Skills USA Advisor of the Year 2021, certificate practicum course and internship program, 4 years as peer mediation advisor. They want to start peer mediation back at Estacado. We started that program. My students and dispute resolution, we started that program. They want to bring it back to Estacado. Am I there? No. Why? 5 years as teen court advisor. We started teen court. ATC just started teen court last year. We started teen court 6 years ago. We restarted teen court with Judge Hernandez. When I asked Miss Reber, does she even know? Dr. Rollo, do you guys even know what I've done in my program? No clue. They never stepped foot in my classroom. Never. They don't have a clue on what I do. But they want to make decisions and impact students' lives and my life without even talking to anybody. Not even coming in front of the board and asking, can we cancel the program? Because we just started a program at the ATC. It's been there for 6 years. What have they done in the past 6 years? I asked for an investigation. Denied. The 22 student handbook reads as follows. A parent may request information regarding the professional qualification of his or her child's teachers, including whether teacher is qualified, has met state qualifications and license requirements. That's been denied also by parents. Parents have asked, and it's been denied by the district. Is currently teaching in the field of discipline and is her certification. I don't want to read all of it because I'm already running out of time. So if we go to nepotism, it's pretty much that's canceling the program and equal pay for equal work. It's there in black and white. He doesn't have a degree. If we go to nepotism. His nephew, they work in the same department, under the law enforcement program. You guys have a nepotism rule that says there's 3 levels. One of them is nephew. Javad Deshawn is married to Paul Flotus's niece. Javad Deshawn is a team leader. I have the documents to prove that he is a team leader. They have given, it's a certified focused leader. They've been given a stipend. I've never applied for it. And so there's only gives us 2 options. That's either Paul Flores or Javad. So nepotism, bottom line is, the law states it's a 3rd level, nephew or niece. I can see if Paul Flores was in the carpentry shop, that wouldn't be considered nepotism, but he works under the law program. And the law program, what is the steps of the law program? Down right there, the color down below. career technical public, law and public service. That falls under law enforcement, legal studies, emergency services. TEA, as of last year, I just found out this from last night, a phone call from one of my guys from Mission, Texas. I go to a conference for the TXPTA. I wasn't able to go last year because I was transferred to Dunbar. He let me know that the TEA does not recognize court systems and practices. And if you look at the one flyer that I gave you, it's the Law and Public Service. This is the new law, one of the laws that just came out for TEA. They don't recognize legal studies, TEA. That's just the information for you guys to look at. TEA, there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Doesn't recognize legal studies anymore. Mock trial, CTE doesn't recognize mock trial either, but I was given a stipend for 7 years. Nepotism, that's pretty much nepotism. We go to alternate state document. So this all goes back to an email that Amy Baker submitted February 2022 to all Exhibit 18. If you look at Exhibit 18, you find Exhibit 18 in your folder. It's 208, page 208. This goes back, that's what I'm saying, is that the district knew they were going to cancel the program. According to Ms. Reber, they canceled it November of 2022 or 2023, December 1st. So the district found out in October, or decided in October, that they're going to cancel it. Because I wasn't going to be in the career offerings book in January. How does a district go over career offerings and figure it out in 2 months? It's not possible. It takes months, sometimes a whole year, to figure out what changes will be done. You look at the altering of the document, just by the way, information at CTE and science departments teamed up today to discuss instructional needs, the growth of our 2 CTE science courses, anatomy and forensic science. So this is the email that she's portraying to everybody in CTE, that the law has changed. We're looking to host a PD training this summer to enhance collaboration with our campus forensic teachers. So there was a PD in the summer. So if you look at the email, it was February, so February, March. And then ATC hired somebody July 1st, 2022, knowing they were going to cancel the program after this email. Amy Baker already had plans on canceling the program. Whether or not Dr. Rollo and Ms. Reber knew about it is unknown. At which time, I don't know when they actually found out. But in discussing needs, resources, and interactive labs, we reviewed the newly adopted TEACs for the forensic science course beginning next school year. I wanted to be sure all counselors, teachers, and principals are aware of the new prerequisite requirement, which requires students to complete biology, chemistry, and at least 2 courses in law public safety cluster. That's what she changed in the legal document. Course in order to enroll in forensic science. This updated prerequisite is not currently listed in the COB, which is the career offerings book. So she mentions the career offerings book at this time. My assumption is that it may direct impact on course selections and course offerings for next year. There she says it again. Please be sure to discuss the change with our teams and determine what, if any, actions are needed. For instance, I would assume that law enforcement 1 numbers are both ATC and EHS will increase, and forensic science numbers, CTE weighted funding may be looked over next year to replacing lost sections. So if you look at the actual, the 127652 forensic science law, she went in there and she altered it. She changed it to say, and at least 1 credit in level 2 higher course from the law and public safety career cluster. That's not what it says. That's not what it says at all. She misled you guys. And if you look at the actual, I ain't got enough time, I'm running out of time. If you look at the actual law, let's see if I can find it.
It's different. It's different.
So anyways, let's go to, right quick, let's go to the other additional questions. If you look at the clarification, Exhibit 18, Ms. Baker, new prerequisite. In 2021, the Texas Education Agency proposed modifying the prerequisite for forensic science to include at least one credit and level 2 or higher course from the Law and Public Safety career cluster. The proposal was subsequently denied by the State Board of Education in 2022. That's a flat out lie. That's not what they did. If I can just finish my answer. There.
Go ahead and finish your thought, and then if you want to reserve your time, you need to stop with this
Okay,
final
yes,
thought, okay?
Yes. So the proposal was subsequently denied by the State of Education in 2022. That's a complete lie. They changed the law. They changed it. Lubbock ISD employees were informed of the proposed change in order to plan if the proposal was approved, but it was ultimately denied, leaving the prerequisite unchanged.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. We'll reserve you 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, you now have a maximum of 30 minutes to respond to Mr. Chavez's complaint. Do you wish to reserve time for closing comments?
Yes, sir. I'll reserve my 5 minutes, please.
Reserve 5 minutes. You may begin. Yeah, we'll wait for the clock to get set.
I need more than 3 minutes. Very well. Good morning, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo, Mr. Chavez, Ms. Gant. I'll begin this morning by bringing clarity to the task at hand today. Mr. Chavez filed 3 grievances that the district chose to consolidate to respond in one grievance process. Therefore, I will go through each of the complaints and the corresponding timely responses that the district has provided Mr. Chavez. I've also provided you with the binder, which contains the written record for the 3 grievances, as well as the audio recordings for the 2 hearings that have been conducted, which I will reference throughout my time with you this morning. For your understanding, the binder is page numbered at the top right-hand corner. So as I reference page numbers, you can look for those or just jot the numbers down so that you can reference them later on. We'll start with Mr. Chavez's first complaint, grievance number 1, which I will reference as equal pay for equal work, as that is how Mr. Chavez characterized it. You'll find this complaint and responses starting on page 10 of the binder up for the level 1 response and page 48 for the level 2 response. Mr. Chavez claims that the district is not compensating him correctly in comparison to his peers, Mr. Javad Kareem Deshon and Mr. Paul Ibarra Flores. He provided documents from a website, govsalaries.com, indicating a salary amount for them. It's on Exhibit 10, page 84, and Exhibit 13, page 90. His position was that his qualifications exceeded those of his peers, and so it should result in a higher salary. As the hearing officer, and in accordance with DGBA local, I investigated the salaries as calculated by the district's Human Resources Department based on the district guidelines for granting years of experience for the purposes of salary calculations. Basically, a candidate is granted salary steps for years of service and additional salary for higher ed degrees as appropriate. As a result of my research, I found Mr. Chavez is compensated on step number 8, being given credit for his years of experience. Mr. Deshon is being compensated at step 15, given his years of experience, and Mr. Flores is being compensated on step 12, given his years of experience. These are confirmed in our systems with service records to support the step assignments. I found the salary calculations on file were correct and reflective of the years of experience for those staff mentioned earlier. Therefore, I denied the appeal for grievance number 1. For grievance number 2, I will reference this complaint as nepotism. You find the information on page 13 for the level 1, page 49 for the level 2. Mr. Chavez's position is that the ATC is violating the district's nepotism policy by allowing Mr. Flores to work, I'll use air quotes, under Mr. Deshone, as he believes they are related. Mr. Chavez indicated that Mr. Deshone was the ATC's lead teacher and was listed as such on agendas for professional development. And while Mr. Deshone is sometimes referred to as lead teacher, I verified that those responsibilities are geared towards program direction and implementation. I verified that Mr. Deshone is not responsible for Mr. Flores' evaluation, nor does he have any more authority than any other teacher, not just Mr. Deshone, but any other teacher at the ATC. I'd ask you to reference Exhibits 16 and 17 on pages 206 and 207, respectively. In reviewing HR documents, Mr. Deshone was not responsible for recommending Mr. Flores for employment. You can reference Exhibit 20, page 218. Furthermore, in review of policy DBE legal, I do not see and did not see where the district is violating any nepotism policy in this situation. And that is why I denied the appeal for grievance 2. For grievance 3, I will reference this complaint as tampering with a state document. This information is found on page 14 for the level 1 and page 49 for the level 2 response. Mr. Chavez alleged that a felony was committed by Mrs. Amy Baker, Executive Director of Career and Technical Education. Mr. Chavez referenced an email he received, key date, February 15th, 2022. February 15th, 2022, in the complaint. After verifying the date and time of the email, I'd ask you to reference Exhibit 18 on page 208. I determined this complaint was not timely, as you heard previously when Mr. Chavez filed his complaint. So in accordance with policy DGBA local, which states a complaint form must be filed within 15 days of the date of the employee first knew or with reasonable diligence should have known of the decision or action given rise to the complaint or the grievance. And due to the policy, I denied the appeal based on the complaint not being timely. Now, however, because of the severity of the accusation, I did review the context of the email referenced in level 1 response by Mr. Flores. You'll find on page 14 of the binder where he states, and I quote, "The current official text 127.652 in the Texas Administrative Code remains untampered. The intent of Ms. Baker's email was for planning purposes and had no knowing intention of being construed as the official, genuine government document. The messaging in the email was to make counselors, teachers, and principals aware of the potential course prerequisite changes the TEA was implementing or considering implementing and how that would impact district course offerings books for the following school year." Board of Trustees, based on the evidence and solely on the evidence in the grievance of record and on my investigation in each of these individual grievances, I would respectfully ask that you deny the level 3 appeal and vote to uphold the level 2 responses that Mr. Chavez has already been provided. Thank you.
Mr. Stubblefield, may I ask Mr. Rodriguez a question?
Go right ahead, Mr. Brady.
On item 3, did I hear you correctly that you denied it because of timeliness, but would have also denied it on the substance?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. We will set the timer for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and give Mr. Chavez an opportunity for closing remarks.
I'm giving Ms. Bailey.
That's fine.
That's fine, absolutely. We'll get it set for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Once you get ready, we'll start. Ms. Gambles.
Good morning again. This is a matter, all three grievances that the NAACP has studied over and over again. We've reviewed the complaint by Mr. Chavez. I've been in meetings with Mr. Rodriguez, and I thank them both for their attention to the issue. We can agree and disagree on some of the demographics throughout the entire process. But my concern and my response is the law program at Estacado High School was decided, and it had absolutely nothing to do with Mr. Chavez or the students. One of the main grievances that I have is a 9th grade group of kids that the law program was available to them, and because of the move, is no longer available. The second issue is we know change happens. I don't know that it's bad or good to move it all to the ATC. But what I do know is with children, if you're moving to make an impact, why wasn't Mr. Chavez considered to be employed at the ATC? I know if I had been a parent of a law student, it would have gone over well with me, because the teacher that has made a difference with my kid is now going to be located at the ATC. We're moving to combine and to consolidate the efforts of what we want to teach as it relates to the law program. I would have been for that. Yet he was excluded. 7 years at Estacado over this law program. Not one reprimand or write-up to indicate he was a problem for the program. Yet he was not considered. He was given a choice to go to a Atkins school or a Dunbar school. Good schools, good kids, but the law program is my passion. And we're in a season where educators are hard to come by. Children, the dropout rate is offensive. If I am a sincere and fair individual and I'm a part of the decision for this law program, I'm going to consider every bit of it. I'm going to consider it goes over better with my students and my parents to move the package. I'm going to sit down and give Mr. Chavez the layout to make this a positive for the parents, for the children, and for the community. So then when we make the transition, it goes over without a hitch. So I don't really speak to Mr. Rodriguez's response to the complaints. I've read over his complaint. I do believe that equal pay or equal work is not what has happened. I do believe that's nepotism. I'm a business owner, and certain folks just can't work for me as much as I love them in that same capacity. I can put them in a different department, but not in my department. So I do agree with that. But above all, I'm concerned about the students at Estacado who do have other stuff going on. May not get a meal every night that they get home, but then I take and rip the Band-Aid off. I've heard from students, some of them spoke right in here, about the difference this program made for them. I requested in the open records request a document telling me how many students we had when we closed this program and how many Estacado students went over to the ATC. I requested that on October 6th. I have yet to receive it. Because at the end of the day, that's the real issue. That is the real issue. Every child, every day. Is that really true as it relates to East Lubbock students? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gambles. Mr. Rodriguez, closing arguments. We'll reset the timer for 5 minutes.
All right, thank you. So let me first again, just refocus us on the fact that we are here to ask for a vote on 3 grievances. We're not here to necessarily talk about the decision of moving the law program. I certainly want to admire and acknowledge Mr. Chavez's motto, changing lives one student at a time. I appreciate that, respect that. We have over 70% of low socioeconomic students in this district. They're at Dunbar too. They're not just at Estacado. We're making an impact, and we need an impact on those students as well. Our district motto is every child, every day. Not just Estacado, not just Monterey. It's every child, every day, including the ones at Dunbar. You indicated that you didn't get a meeting to talk about the closing of the program, but yet you referenced a meeting in a conversation that you had with Ms. Wilbanks. So I'm not sure how that adds up. And you ask in your statement, who wants to go to Estacado, right? Who wants to go to Estacado? Mr. Chavez, there are 873 students that want to go to Estacado. That's who wants to go to Estacado. I can tell you, Board of Trustees, all certifications are in place, and they are appropriate for the assignments that these employees are in. TEA could audit our records. They would reflect that in the State Board of Educator online certification system, those certificates are in place. The records for work-based learning are maintained at the ATC, as that's where the industry experts are. They help us evaluate, not human resources, whether or not an employee's work-based experience is valid to serve in the assignment. If the district decided at the beginning of the year, you indicated that this has to do with the law program, I won't even reference that. In regards to the comment about Mrs. Baker, we charge our district leadership to stay abreast of state level changes and even conversations and potential changes that could have an impact on the district programs. And we expect them to then come back and let us know, hey, we've got this potential change coming. Should we be changing direction? Should we be looking ahead? Because it could cost employees livelihood. And we want to make sure that we stay on top of that and give our employees sufficient time to make any changes if they were to choose to make those changes that are provided to us and impacted to us at the state level, not by us. Last thing I will point out, the law program is available for any student in this district at the ATC with transportation. Currently, we have 32 students from Estacado High School attending the ATC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Now that the board has heard the grievance, the board has the following options. 1, it may grant the grievance and provide appropriate relief. 2, it may deny the grievance and uphold the decision of the administration. 3, it may grant the grievance in part and deny the grievance in part, modifying the decision of the administration. Or 4, it may make no decision. The board will now deliberate in open session per Mr. Chavez's request. We will deliberate first on the point, number 1, of equal time for equal work. Equal pay, equal time for equal pay. What we're going to do is we're going to ask each trustee to make the determination, again, on whether or not we grant the grievance, whether or not we deny the grievance and uphold the administration's decision, or we grant in part. So we'll just start at the end with Mr. Ratliff, and we'll come around.
So based on the communication that we received, that in each person is being compensated according to their step, one being on step 8, one being on step 15, and the other being on step 12, and that they are all being compensated for that step, then I would vote that we deny the grievance and uphold the administrator's determination.
Trustee Chavez.
I'm thinking about how to word this the best that I can. I would have to ask a question. Are you okay with that, Bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Rick, so you said that there are steps, so, and that's with credentials, as you said, correct?
The credential is just to get the assignment.
Right, but,
Does not
okay.
determine what step you're on.
So then that's irrelevant, is that what we're saying? Their credentials, it's irrelevant, it's just the number of years, is that what we're saying?
So the salary determination is based on the years of experience.
And, okay, see, that, and to me, that doesn't make sense, so help me understand that. Because if there's no credentials, and they're still getting that salary, and they're going on their steps, and you have somebody that has credentials and somebody that doesn't, that, to me, that makes a difference. Just like a teacher, you have to have a bachelor's at least, just like an adjunct teacher, they have to have a bachelor's to teach, so they'll get a higher pay.
Sure. So let me be clear. You cannot be considered unless the district has taken steps to whether there is a pathway for them to secure certification. In this case, all three have that pathway. Their certification is on file with us. So we pass that threshold. Past that threshold, then the years of experience comes to play, and that's what determines the years of experience. Whether you could have 5 certificates, I could be certified in math, science, social studies, and English. It's not going to make my salary go up if I'm teaching English,
No,
and I've
I
got
just thought
5 years of
credentials made a
experience.
difference.
I'm sorry?
I felt like credentials would make a difference. If you had a bachelor's and whatnot, and the other one didn't, I would feel that would make a big difference, just like a teacher. I guess my point being here
There is
at
no-
this
there-
point.
I'm sorry,
my-
there is no
I guess my
difference.
next question is, so, let me understand this. So how many years of service did Mr. Chavez have? What step did you say he was in?
Mr. Chavez is on step 8.
Step 8, okay, and that's how it's documented,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As much as this will break my heart to say this, because that's the way the district has it, I would have to stick with that rule because it is our policy. I don't agree with that, but because that's the way that it is, I will stick with what it said.
Trustee Bridges.
So that policy is across all disciplines?
That's
all
correct.
campuses,
That is not
all
just a Lubbock.
HBC, career.
It is general practice.
I won't belabor the point, so I move that we deny the grievance and uphold the level 2 decision.
Trustee Curry.
While I appreciate Mr. Chavez's service, we have lots of teachers who teach the same thing who are on different steps, whether that's done in the business world or not. That's how the district has paid people. That's how public ed pays people. And so I vote that we deny the grievance and uphold level 2.
Trustee Brady.
Denied.
And just for clarification point, I'm thinking maybe Ms. Chavez is asking who's been employed the longest? I don't know.
Well, because that's what it seems like the steps are, right? 12, can you explain to me the steps then? I just felt like he is so much more qualified than they are, and that's where I'm having the problem.
Sure. I can only speak to how the district and most school districts in the state of Texas calculate teacher pay. And that's by years of experience. So it's not necessarily who's worked the longest in Lubbock ISD, because obviously Mr. Deshone worked, I believe, in Friendship before he came to us. And so those years, as long as they're on a creditable service record, which we won't grant steps unless that's the case. If it's work-based, we send out a form. The form is signed. It's verified by the staff, And once it's verified, then those years of experience are granted for the purposes of salary calculation. And so while I'd like to say if somebody had, I think Mr. Curry makes a good point, we have math teachers that have the 812 math certificate, which is a very difficult certificate to get. We have a staff that have the 812 science, which means you could teach any science certificate, or you have biology. The biology, you're only limited to be able to teach biology, okay? We cannot pay the 812 science cert teacher if they have the same years of experience. We cannot pay them any more if they teach 3 different subjects. They make the same amount of money based on their years of experience.
So as an automotive, that he has his credentials as an automotive, that's another thing that's bothering me. He has credentials in automotive and whatnot, not in criminal justice. That's where I'm struggling with this, and but again, like I said, I've already said what I said. I'm going because that's our policy, and I can't change that. I just don't think it's fair. He's got the credentials, he's got the experience. That's the difference between them. I'm gonna hire somebody who has credentials and has the experience, and he does have it. So I think that,
Mr. President?
it's wrong.
Yes, sir.
All the members of the board have expressed their position on this item. If we're gonna poll before we take a vote, so be it. I move that we deny the first grievance and uphold the administration's determination at level 2 regarding the grievance to the extent you need a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the grievance and uphold the decision of the administration. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Is that level 1?
The level 1 grievance,
Okay.
yes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. And to be clear, Mr. Brady, I believe what you're saying is the grievance in its entirety, or just that particular point?
I'd be happy to make the same motion for the grievance in its entirety. I thought the only thing that was before us was the first grievance.
Yes.
But I'd be happy to make a motion for number 2 and number 3 together or separately when the chair thinks it's appropriate.
We'll hear out.
Thank you.
For item number 2 on nepotism. Same number.
Yeah, just reviewing all the documentation as well as positioning and that there is no immediate supervision here. I don't see that it's risen to the level of nepotism here, so I would vote to deny the grievance and uphold the administration's determination.
So, Mr. Rodriguez, so the nepotism, Rick, Deshaun, that they're related, but you did say that they do not do their evaluations. So if they did their evaluations, would that make a difference?
Yes, I think it would cause us pause. It's not a practice that we would necessarily want to do. But we have relatives that work with each other on the same campus all across the district.
Well, I think that he said in the same law program. That was what he was referring to.
So it would be the same as if my spouse and I taught math at Estacado High School. Be the same situation. We'd be under the math department. That's not something that would prevent us. The district would not have a problem with that. As an HR person or a former HR person, I would tell you it's not a practice I would recommend to principals because there's always some complexities to that. But it is not necessary. It is not nepotism to have them working
even
together.
though they're related, but because
Yes.
they don't do the evaluation,
That's
I'm
correct.
just going to recuse myself from this. I'm not going to vote on this.
Okay.
So Mr. Flores does not work for Mr. Deschamps.
That is correct.
Yeah. The evidence
They
is
work
clear that
together.
they don't lead each other, and then also I would, even if they did, I would argue that the niece is related, not him, and so I deny.
Motion, Mr. Brady?
I move we deny the second grievance on nepotism and uphold the administration's determination at level 2 regarding the grievance.
Have a second?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to deny and uphold the administrations on level 2. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? You opposing or abstaining?
Abstain, thank you.
Abstaining. The motion passes 5-0, 5 with 1 abstaining. 5 with 1 abstaining. Item 3, tampering with a state document.
I would agree with Mr. Rodriguez in that the email was sent for planning purposes and not with any intent of changing legal or just strictly for planning purposes. Therefore, I would deny, vote to deny.
I have questions about, I had a hard time reading the one Brett gave me, so I came back to his office and he made me a new copy. It was altered. You can definitely see that it was altered. But it isn't really a legal document. So hypothetically speaking, as we have spoken before, the fact that if she had gone to a lawyer, they're going to deny it anyways. But it was, whether she intentionally did that, I don't know. I don't know Amy's thoughts. But it's clearly, there are 2 different documents. It does state differently. So I'm going to agree with Mr. Chavez. You can see it. It's clear. It was changed. Again, maybe not intentional, but that's what happened.
I agree with the level 2 findings, so I vote to deny that.
Sure.
Same here. I agree with the level 2 finding.
I move that we deny this 3rd grievance and uphold the administration's determination at level 2
Second.
regarding the grievance.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Let the record
I oppose.
indicate that it passes 5-1. Let the record indicate the voting has been done on all 3 accounts to support the administration's findings. This hearing is concluded, and we will now resume the regular meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez, Ms. Gann. I appreciate you guys. You guys do great.
So what's remaining? Is it workshop?
Yeah, we're gonna go to exec real quick. Yeah. At this time, we're gonna move to a second executive closed session, which will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. It is 9:57, and we are adjourned to closed session. All right, 10:06, we are reconvened. Do we have any action items out of session? Seeing none, we'll jump into item 15, the workshop. And so,
We're going to have Ken speak.
Ken?
I know your script says Kami, and I apologize.
that's all right. Chief Innovation Officer.
Yeah,
Ken.
good morning, Mr. Board President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo. Just want to, as you recall, CV Local was adopted from Update 120 presented by Mrs. Reber at the August board meeting. As a district, we shall provide public notice of federal grant awards through information item at the board meeting and by publishing items on the district website. So we have one accepted federal grant to report on, which is the Stronger Connections Grant. This grant was made available through public law after the mass tragedies in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, through the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which encompasses Title II funding, and the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. As you can read on the slide, the notification of the grant was received on November 3rd. It is about $1.5 million that will take place from November 2023 through September of 25. The purpose of this program is to support systematic change in the way that the schools address bullying, violence, and acts of hate, and we are using it to fund 16 student behavior support specialists. Dr. Soberad, Martha Dodge, and Kami Finger helped write the grant together, and I'm sure Ms. Finger will be able to provide more information about how the grant will be used.
Slow down. That's great.
So sustainability is always our goal with any program and services that we're providing that we find to be effective in Lubbock ISD. And so with that comes the grant, if you remember from Covenant, where we had key specialists or student behavior support specialists on our campuses working directly with our students that need support in social, emotional, and behavioral prevention and intervention. And that's what this is all about. So between the Office of Innovation and Student Behavior Support Division of School Support and Special Services, this is our way of sustaining at least 16 positions the next 2 years. So we're very excited about that as we also continue to seek out other grant funding to continue funding other positions that do the same level of work. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kami.
Short and sweet. I don't know.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. We're very excited.
Thanks, Kami.
Thank you for your work on this, Kami, and
Yes.
Lane in your office too.
Absolutely. All right, we'll move right on through this workshop. And Kim's up for both the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. What we've chosen to do in exec, we want to table the progress measures, and we'll go straight to the library book presentation.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Stubblefield and Dr. Rollo and board members. Glad to be here today to talk about instructional materials, in particular the very popular subject of library books. And I want to begin by just letting you know that we have a process and a system in place. We have 85% of our libraries have librarians, certified librarians, and they do an amazing job. And I'm working closely with them, particularly this year, as we move forward into the school year and really look at how we address the purchase of instructional materials in our libraries. There is board policy around libraries, as you guys are aware. It is EF local and EF legal policy. And it does line out the selection and criteria for purchasing and even challenging controversial materials or any materials in our library. The policy was updated in 2022, so it is current and it is following the legal guidance of TASB. That's where we start from when we make that policy. One of the things that is included in the policy is the selection of materials. And there are 15 kind of overarching guidelines that our librarians use in making the determination of what to purchase. These guidelines have been developed and adopted by the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, and they do that along with their training and their knowledge from receiving their advanced degrees in library science. Some of the things that they look for, I've highlighted, there's 15 of them, and they're kind of lengthy, but some of the things that they attend to are making sure that we are addressing students' variety of interests and abilities, their maturity level. We want to foster that critical thinking, identify materials that have multiple viewpoints. Our materials in our libraries represent many ethnic, religious, and cultural groups, as they should. Focuses on a variety of background. Of course, we're looking for things that have literary merit and quality. Oftentimes, we will look at materials that have won state or national awards. We want to make sure that those are accessible to our students. We want them to be, of course, factual. We want kids to actually like what's in the library, have a global perspective, and represent diverse viewpoints and cultures. Our library staff, as I said, houses 85% of our libraries have a certified librarian. That means that they have an advanced degree in library sciences, and many of those librarians also have a clerk that work with them, either full-time or part-time, depending on the campus. The 15% that don't have a full-time certified librarian, they do have a clerk. So there is always someone there that can check books out for students who are interested. Our clerks and librarians come together during content focus session 4 times a year for training. I have begun leading that training along with 2 lead librarians. We have a lead librarian that kind of oversees elementary, and then one that oversees secondary. And so they come together, the clerks come as well, they train, they vet books, and they collaborate. As Dr. Harpster mentioned earlier, recently the legislature has passed House Bill 900. That was during the regular session. And in that House bill, it explicitly stated that the Texas Board of Education would define sexually explicit and relevant material. It required library material vendors to assign a rating system to books and to materials. And it requires that the Texas State Library and Archives Commission develop standards for collections. And this is to apply to school libraries and classroom libraries. However, as you can imagine, the vendors came back and said that that wasn't possible, and they filed suit, and so an injunction was placed on this House bill. So we are currently waiting while the courts figure out what this will look like. Once that happens, then TEA will establish rules around it, and then we will come together and look at our policy and make sure our policy aligns with those rules. In the meantime, we still are vetting books. This began a couple of years ago. Our librarians, when they come together, they discuss books before they order them. We want to make sure that we are good stewards of our district money, and so we wanted to make sure that we were ordering books that had been vetted, that somebody had read them. Maybe not that particular librarian. Our middle school and high school libraries in particular are very robust. For example, Irons Middle School has over 13,000 books in it. And they weed out that collection, meaning they take out books that kids aren't interested in, older books, and then they purchase new ones. Before we purchased those new ones, we wanted to make sure that we had eyes on what those books were. And so a couple of things that we've put in place over the last few years is that we come together, the librarians bring a list of books that they want to order, and then we discuss them. And collectively, they can cover most of those titles. They get books that they decide they want to order. They're reading online. They are getting literature from their organizations They are getting recommendations from teachers and from students, and that helps them kind of make that list. And then we come together and we really look at them all collectively. Who has read this one? Who has read that one? Are there any potential issues? One of the practices that has been in place in the past that we've put an end to is we do not buy from companies where we don't get to pick the titles. There are some companies that will sell packages of books, and maybe a thematic package or around a particular subject, and you don't get to know what titles are in there. We no longer order from those. We only order where we get to pick the titles that we want to order. We collectively read the books and order before we order them when possible. And when books come in, they are read before they are shelved. This has been a practice that's been in place for several years. And in talking to especially the middle school and the high school librarians, they have oftentimes, not oftentimes, but they have had situations where they've ordered a book, read it because the reviews were great on it, read it and said, oh no, this is not acceptable, and put the book on the shelf, not on the shelf for kids, but in the back, and got rid of it because it wasn't appropriate in their librarians. And that's how it should be. They are making those professional decisions before they shelve the books. Just kind of on a side note, but in similar, books that are read completely in their entirety in middle school and high school classrooms. If I'm going to teach a novel, then it has to be on an approved middle school and high school approved list. I have a committee of teachers that come together usually every spring, and campuses submit books that they would like to read in their entirety, and the committee votes on those books and either adds them or doesn't add them. In very simple terms, in our library, my library friends and I came up with the bucket system. I know it's very complicated and complex, but we have a bucket system. In bucket one, when they have a list of books and we bring them together, bucket one is there's not going to be any controversy. For example, I'm ordering a board book about squirrels. There's probably not going to be anything in that book that I need to worry about. It goes in bucket one. There could be, that's why we look at it before we put it on the shelf, but more than likely, there's not. Some of our nonfiction titles, even at middle school and high school, we know there's probably not going to be controversy around a book on calligraphy. We can put it in bucket one. Bucket two is, I'm not really sure. So maybe a chapter book for a fifth grader. I've read a review in my literature as the librarian. I really want to order this book, but I haven't read it yet, but I've heard it's good. Nobody else, I've checked, nobody else has read it. We're going to order it, we're going to read it, and then we're going to decide if we're going to order it and not across all libraries. And a lot of times for bucket two and bucket three, I've encouraged them to go to the public library, check out a copy of it before they order it so that they have an idea. We catch a lot of things by talking about books collectively from bucket number two. Bucket number three really hits our middle school and our high schools more than anywhere else. That is those books that we know probably have something controversial in them that someone might deem controversial. And with those books, the librarians, not only one librarian, but collectively, and then even small groups of librarians will read those and make those decisions together. What has happened, which has been really kind of cool, is the librarians ask, can some of our teachers help us vet these books? So classroom teachers, can they read them? And I said, of course. And at one of our high schools, they actually have a small committee of teachers, the principal, the academic dean, that are helping the librarian vet books too, so that she can continue to order. So I just want you to know that while the House bill is waiting in the court system, we do have a process in place. It's not perfect, but it definitely has helped as we have purchased books over the last few years. Possible book removal. Books cannot be removed just because we don't agree with them. In fact, in our board policies, it says that we cannot just unilaterally remove a book. We have a process in place, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Because of First Amendment rights, we can't just pull anything. But obscene content is not protected under the First Amendment. And there is, it's actually a very old court case called Miller versus California, 1973, that kind of set a litmus test of what can be deemed or what is deemed obscene in books. And there are three things that are considered. It is the three things that can determine if a book as a whole is considered obscene. Is would the average person applying contemporary community standards find the work taken as a whole appeals to prudent interest? Does it depict or describe offensive sexual conduct specifically designed by state law and in the penal code? And does it lack serious artistic, political, scientific, or literary value? So that's kind of the litmus test that starts. As you can imagine, since 1973, there have been a plethora of court cases around this, but they oftentimes go back to this when determining or discussing obscene content in books. Our policy is laid out in EF Local, and I am very proud to say we follow our policy. If a parent, a community member that lives within our attendance zone or an employee wishes to challenge any instructional material, but in particular library books, there is a form that they can fill out. It does ask that they read the book in its entirety and not just a short selection or a piece of it. They read it in its entirety. They explain what their concern is, and they offer an alternative text, perhaps, that could be used in its place. We have a review committee of 7 people that read that book that has been challenged in its entirety. The 7-member committee is comprised it will always include at least one teacher, librarian, parent, community member, and I serve on that committee as well. We have a list of questions that we answer that is also found in the policy to determine what we want to do with that particular text, what action needs to be taken. I have been in this position since last May, so about a year and a half. And in that time period, we have had 2 books that we have had formal reconsideration on. Both of those were in early September of this year. Our committee convened, and we determined they were both presented. The form was turned in by a middle school parent, and in both cases, the committee chose to move that book to the high school level as the content was a little bit more mature for middle school students. So that was the direction that the committee went. So while there is a lot of conversation around library books, as I've stated, we've only had 2 reconsideration forms in the last year and a half, and we will accept those, and we stand ready per board policy to address those issues should they come up. Do y'all have any questions for me?
You did say that only people out of district that have no kids here, they cannot do any of that.
Correct.
process,
It is
correct?
only,
Okay. And I like
it's
that.
just parents of a student that is currently enrolled. It is community members that live within our attendance boundaries or employees.
Nice, that's great.
So,
Yes, sir.
Kim, to clarify, no board member can go take books off the shelf, correct?
Correct.
And that hasn't happened, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I would just say,
Were
because
you
I keep
thinking
hearing-
about it?
No,
Okay,
but
making sure.
citizens continue to speak as if we're going in there and throwing books on the fire, and it's just not happening.
It's not. Asking
us to. I mean, or kind of,
Yeah.
or wanting us to go.
Both,
Right.
but I'm saying on both sides. And so I think it's important, while I may hate a bunch of books, and while I'm on the board, yeah, it'd be great to get out of these books that Ryan Curry personally feels violate some moral code, okay? But if the dynamics of the school district change, I don't want one person deciding that. I mean, I think the committee that we have is fantastic. I commend you guys for the fact of your process and how you go about it. You know, to those who continue to speak in favor of libraries and whatnot, I think everybody on this dais is a fan of libraries, a fan of librarians. However, I would argue, and while I support every one of those librarians, we don't allow teachers to decide what is taught in their classroom, right? We have committees, we have And a library should be no different. Just because that person has a certification, we all are biased. And so what I may deem acceptable, you may not. And I don't think one person should have the power or the burden, quite frankly, to have to put up with that. And then I would argue for the people who are worried about the books that are in our library, if kids were reading library books, we wouldn't have the issues that we have in our district. So I would chill out on the concern there. Books aren't checked out, people aren't reading, and I can attest that for 3 boys at my own house. I mean, and I'm not proud of that, but they read what they're forced to. They don't go in there and check out library books for fun on the weekends.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you guys, and I hope that this calms some of the fears on both sides, quite frankly. And if you want to challenge a book. Like, there's a process.
Right.
And to the people who want freedom of speech, I hope they respect the fact that we have a process, and it's not going to be
It's
taken
simple.
out because
So
Ryan
simple.
doesn't want it.
Right.
You said that
Absolutely.
we had 85% librarians in our schools. What about the other
85%.
percentage that
The
don't?
other 15%, there is a clerk at every school that can check books out. And so one of the things that we are doing as well, when we all come together, the clerks come as well. And our 2 leads help those clerks. They help determine what can be ordered. We can look at collectively what is ordered at elementary, so that if a campus doesn't have a library, they can still order books just off of that list that we vetted. And our lead librarians do a great job of helping those campuses. When I was an elementary principal at Hardwick, the lead librarian was actually my librarian, and she went out usually at least once a month, sometimes more, and worked with the campuses that had clerks to make sure that they had what they needed, that we were weeding out those old books maybe that aren't being checked out, and that if they were purchasing things, that we were getting those on the vetted list.
We have one at Carmona. She's a clerk, but I'll tell you what, she's just as good as a certified. She's awesome.
I'm glad you said that, Lala. Our staffing model does provide a librarian for every campus.
Yes.
But some principals have chosen to use that position
They have the
in
autonomy
some
to do
other
that.
way. And the reason why they've done that is because they have an outstanding clerk that
Yeah, and we do.
is fantastic.
Yeah. Yes,
Just want to
thank
throw
you.
that out there about Carmona.
And we make sure we include them in all of the training. They get, they come to everything that the librarians, the certified librarians come to, and we work with them as well.
Kim, sorry, one other question.
Sure.
Would it be a fair statement to say that in the past, we have had books that have been put on shelves without any vetting, without, came in a box and somebody, because it's a New York Times bestseller, we put it on the shelf, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think, I would say for the people who are up in arms, I mean, that's a valid point, that if we're not actually reviewing what we're putting on the shelf, we would never do that in curriculum in general. So
Right.
we shouldn't do that in our libraries.
Right. And so that's why this vetting has been in place for a few years, and we're tightening it up. It is, it's ongoing. We have a lot of conversation around it, and we have had many kind of changes along the way on what that's going to look like. But definitely, some of the books that, are in our libraries are 20, 30 years old. And even within the last probably 15 years, there are books that haven't been vetted. And but once again, that's why we have a process in place for challenging materials.
I would just add that
Yes, sir.
the fact that would you say the last 18 months, there's been 2 that have been submitted, I think really speaks to the urgency or lack thereof of what it is we're working with. And I was really impressed with one of our young students that spoke, Ms. Gimza, who said that differing viewpoints, differing opinions is kind of the backbone of education. And I mean, I think that's so true, and having diverse reading is important, and keeping our kids safe from obscene material is also important. So kudos to your team for what you're doing, and I think it's a great program. And
Thank you.
done.
I appreciate the students that came in
Yeah.
and spoke today. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And that's the
Absolutely.
second time she's come in.
Yeah.
She speaks very well.
Well, I just think there's some misunderstanding and miscommunication, like you said, of that we're just going in and pulling books off of shelves, and that is not happening.
Miscommunication.
Well,
Shocker.
Yeah.
You can tell the ones that are reading, and both Lesko and Gimsa are readers.
Yep, they love to read.
Absolutely.
The language and the delivery, it's evident. You cannot lead if you do not read. And so
I'm gonna need that on a T-shirt.
can I get some credit for the comment? Whatever.
We need
But
to vote on leadership again?
yeah, we do. And so, nonetheless, just for my benefit, one more time, the HB 900. What does the future look like for that? That you might. I mean, I know it's up in the air, but
It probably will go to trial.
It will. I would imagine
And
it
so
would.
that will take a little while to.
So we'll just continue our buckets.
So that and accountability are going to trial.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
yeah. All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Kim.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you on the next time for the progress measures. Well, it is 10. Well, let me ask, anything else we need to discuss? I'm trying to get us out of here. It is 10:31, and this meeting is adjourned.